Welcome back to the Nancy Levin Show. There is a unique kind of exhaustion that comes from standing at a crossroads from too long. You have options, you have ideas, you have desires and dreams, and yet you are frozen. And a midlife crossroad in particular can look like a career pivot, an empty nest, divorce, retirement approaching, a loss, different creative projects calling your name, a side hustle that wants to become your main thing, an opportunity that excites and terrifies you in equal measure. And the pressure sounds like this: what if I choose wrong? But here's the truth. There's no wrong choice. There's only misalignment prolonged. Decision fatigue does not come from too many options. It comes from not trusting yourself to handle the consequence of choice. You're not afraid of choosing, you're afraid of regret. That stagnation is its own regret. And that's what most people don't realize when they're standing at a crossroad, feeling frozen in possibility. And they think that staying in place protects them from making the wrong choice. But staying in place is making a choice to defer your own evolution, the choice to let time decide for you instead of deciding for yourself. So many people stay at the crossroad because standing still feels safer than committing. But standing still is still a choice, and the choice to defer your own evolution. But here's what happens when you stand at a crossroads too long. Your energy fragments. You're researching all the options. You're reading all the books, taking all the courses, talking to all the people, but you're not actually moving in any direction. You're stuck in analysis mode, in preparation mode, in just gathering more information mode. And meanwhile, your life is passing you by. Now, clarity does not precede commitment all the time. In fact, commitment creates clarity. I'm going to say that again. Clarity does not precede commitment. Commitment creates clarity. When you choose a direction, even temporarily, your nervous system organizes around it. Energy moves, momentum builds, feedback arrives. You start getting real data instead of hypothetical scenarios. You discover what actually works instead of what theoretically might work. You learn what you like and what you don't, and what fits and what doesn't. But when you avoid choosing, your energy fragments. You're pulled in multiple directions at once, unable to go fully in any direction. And that fragmentation, that's what causes the exhaustion. Not the work of building something new, but the work of holding yourself back from committing to anything. So the question becomes, how do you choose without burning it all down? How do you move forward when you're not certain which path is right? And here's the truth. You experiment. Instead of focusing on perfection, know that you can take a step in any direction and always course correct. So instead of asking the big question, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Ask, what feels aligned today? Start small. Instead of what if this fails, you can ask, what data will I gather if I give this a shot? Instead of who will I be if I leave this job, this relationship? Ask, who am I becoming if I stay? These aren't questions about forever. They're questions about right now. They're not about certainty. They're about curiosity. Because here's what I've learned. Most people aren't actually afraid of making the wrong choice. They're afraid of making a permanent choice. But very few choices are actually permanent. You can try something for a period of time and then pivot. You can explore a direction and course correct. You can experiment without needing to know how the entire story ends. The pressure of what will I do for the rest of my life is going to keep you stuck and still and frozen. But what do I want to explore for the next 3 months? That's doable. So give yourself permission to experiment, to test, to prototype, to try. Maybe that looks like starting your side project while keeping your job, taking one course instead of trying to get 3 certifications, saying yes to one opportunity and seeing what unfolds. You don't have to quit everything and start from scratch. You don't have to make a dramatic announcement. You don't have to burn your life down to build something new. You just have to take one step in a direction and see what happens, and then take another step based on what you learn. Clarity is earned through motion, not through thinking, not through planning, not through endless research, but through action. So move. Even if you're not sure, even if you're scared, move and adjust, move and learn, move and recalibrate. That's how you navigate a crossroads, not by having all the answers before you start, but by being willing to discover the answers as you go. Because crossroads are identity transitions. You're not just choosing a job, you are choosing a version of yourself. And here's what most people miss. You can't discover your next chapter while clinging to your old identity. If you have been the responsible one, the caretaker, the high achiever, the stable earner, the spouse who holds everything together, the person everyone can count on, these roles shift. And when they shift, you will feel disoriented. And the disorientation is not danger, it's expansion. But it doesn't feel like expansion at first. It feels like loss, like you're losing yourself, like you don't know who you are anymore. And in a way, that's true. You're losing the version of yourself that was built around those roles. But you're not losing yourself. You're shedding an identity that no longer fits, so a truer one can emerge. And this is where most people get stuck. They want the new chapter without the discomfort of transition. They want to know who they're becoming before they let go of who they've been. But it doesn't always work that way. You have to be willing to step into the unknown. You have to release your grip on the old identity before the new one can fully form. You have to be willing to not know who you are for a while. And that's terrifying for people who've built their entire sense of self around certainty, around having it together, around knowing the answer. But here's the permission I want to offer you. You are allowed to not know. You are allowed to be in transition. You are allowed to try on different versions of yourself and see what fits. The identity you're moving toward isn't something you figure out through thinking. It's something you discover through living, through choosing, through experimenting, through seeing who you become when you make different choices. So instead of asking, who will I be, which keeps you stuck in your head, ask, who am I becoming, which invites you to pay attention to what's already unfolding. If you are listening and you are standing at a crossroads right now, unsure which direction to take, you need not navigate it alone. I created Reignite Your Spark. This is a free 5-day experience that will help you reconnect with your desires, release what is clouding your vision, and help you take your first aligned steps forward. This is an opportunity designed to help you move from indecision into embodied clarity. You will receive daily emails from me with short videos, a workbook, practices and prompts to help you get out of analysis mode and into clarity and action in less than 15 minutes a day. So if this episode is speaking to you directly, learn more right now at nancylevin.com/spark, and I will meet you in your inbox. Now let's talk about the fear of starting over. Because here's the deal. This is not about starting from scratch. You are starting from your experience. Every skill, every lesson, every heartbreak, every mistake, every triumph, every moment of growth It all comes with you. And yet I hear this all the time. I'm too old to start over. I've invested too much time in this path to change now. I can't afford to go back to square one. But here's the truth. You're not going back to square one. You're taking everything you've learned and applying it in a new direction. That's not starting over. That's building forward. You know things now that you didn't know at 25. You have skills now that took years to develop. You have wisdom now that only comes from experience. And all of that comes with you. So the question is not, can I afford to pivot? The question is, can I afford not to? Because time is moving either way. And you can spend the next 5 years staying exactly where you are, wishing you made a change, or you can spend the next 5 years building towards something that actually aligns with who you're becoming. Because either way, 5 years will pass. So the only question is, where will you be when it does? So instead of asking, am I too late, which keeps you stuck, ask what becomes possible if I start now? Because the truth is, the best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is now. The only thing a crossroads requires is honesty. If you knew you could not fail, what would you choose? If you trusted yourself to adapt, what would you try? If you stopped worrying about what everybody else would think, what would you give yourself permission to want? These are not hypothetical questions, they're diagnostics. The answers reveal what you actually want beneath all the fear, all the practicality, and all the shoulds. Sometimes the most radical act is not quitting everything. It is giving yourself permission to explore without pressure. You do not need to burn your life down. You need to build a bridge before you cross. You get to test, explore, and stay curious. You get to try whatever it is that has been calling you. And you get to do it without needing to be perfect, without needing to replace everything immediately, without needing to know how everything ends. It's taking one step, then another, and pay attention. Pay attention to what lights you up and what drains you. Pay attention to what feels aligned and what feels forced. Pay attention to who you're becoming as you move. That's how you navigate a crossroad. Not by standing still until you have certainty, but by moving forward and letting the path reveal itself and then taking action. So this is about choosing a direction and moving forward, knowing you can always course correct. I want to support you in identifying for yourself the new direction you are willing to move in just for now. Choose it, commit to it, give it your attention for the next 90 days. Not because you know exactly where it will lead, but because standing at the crossroad any longer is costing you more than moving forward ever will. And if you're ready to move from confusion to conviction, I created Reignite Your Spark just for you. Go to nancylevin.com/spark. I'll meet you in your inbox with your first free video and prompt, and you will be well on your way. Because you do not need to have all of your answers right now. You simply need to take the first step. You need to choose, you need to move, and then calibrate as you go. Your next chapter is waiting. Not at the end of endless analysis, but on the other side of one courageous choice.